So much. This is a little cozy, huh?
Yeah.
Guys, we're talking about hacks, so feel free to join the conversation. You know, not to use a dad joke, but if I had $1 for every cyber blockchain hack that we reported on over the last couple of years, I wouldn't be sitting here. I mean, is it getting out of control?
Well, you know, kind of like in the year of 2020, right, 2 years ago, about $500 million got hacked, stolen, due to program errors in smart contracts and so on. So that number got tripled last year. Well, this reached something like $1.3, $1.4 billion financial loss. While this year, just in the first 10 months, more than $2 billion has already been stolen due to these software bugs and so on. So
yeah.
It's kind of like out of control, I would say.
It's out of control. You know, you quoted Ray Dalio saying, you know, our offense is way better than our defense when it comes to this Web3 world. Why is that? Why aren't, you know, startups and companies investing in defense?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, you know, there are many people from traditional, especially traditional financial institutes. They feel like, well, smart contracts, these kind of things, are too risky. In terms that, well, there may be bugs in the smart contracts and so on. So that's why Ray Dalio said as well, the cyber offense is much bigger than the cyber defense at this moment. That's why cyber risk is a risk that he can't ignore. But if we look, so like then why people are still so passionate about let's say decentralized finance and so on. So I would say Celsius can be a good example. Celsius, although they are dealing with, you know, blockchain, Web3, all this kind of stuff, but they are a centralized finance institute, right? And there are many more, like Three Arrows Capital, right? Like valuation and so on. And these centralized kind of like financial institute who have lots of exposure to cryptos and so on, many of them got bankrupted in the past few months. But if we look at these DeFi products like AV, like 1inch, PancakeSwap, and so on. So these decentralized finance products, they encode the business logic into the programs, into smart contracts running on top of blockchain. So let's say if you need a margin call, they will simply do the margin call. Rather than, you know, in centralized finance institute, sometimes they need to do margin call, but you know, kind of like give several days extension, something like that. But bad things happen. So you can see that none of the famous decentralized finance products got bankrupt in the past few months. Yeah. But centralized, well, are much more risky. Yeah, that's why people are very passionate about decentralized finance.
Yeah. So as you say, it's getting out of control. Tell me about you know, you're a professor of computer science. Yeah. In 2018, you launched your company, Certik. Talk to me about how you're helping companies with their defense.
Oh, yeah, it's a great question. So I'm a computer science professor at Columbia University. So my research area is basically software security, formal verification, and so on. And so I started the company in the year of 2018, the Certik. So our goal is to help secure, at least to improve the security rate for, let's say, smart contracts, for blockchain system, and so on. So we definitely adapt our research results in the past that can scale this defense technology to various of smart contracts and so on. So the tricky thing about blockchain and Web3 security is that if we look at the cyber defense in previous competition platforms like Web2, like PC, like cloud, and so on, in most cases, this cyber security company trying to identify malicious transaction, malicious access, block them, right? And try to add a patch and then resume the system. So when you get hacked while your website is down for maybe several minutes, it's not a big deal for most of the companies. But in the Web3 world, all these smart contracts are running on top of blockchain, which is a world computer that no one can stop. So even if we identify malicious transaction access, we can't block them. Yeah. And also in this industry, we want to reach consensus So this system open source their code, and the hacker can read the source code, perform attack, and no one can stop. So that's why we have to make sure that all these decentralized applications, Web3 applications, have to be as secure as possible before the deployment.
Yeah.
So that's our key job. And so far in the past few years, we have helped us secure more than 4,000 Web3 companies and help secure more than $300 billion worth of crypto assets.
Wow. But like you told me before, you've helped about 14% of companies. Why aren't more companies coming to you for help to protect themselves?
Yeah, well, if you go to, let's say, public, the CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, all these websites, you can find as well, they will also list the cybersecurity firm for each crypto and Web3 project. And our percentage is 14% at this moment. So basically, among all these Web3 projects globally, 14% are our clients.
Yeah.
The thing is, there are still many kind of like many Web3 companies that haven't spent any single dollar in cybersecurity or cyber defense. So if we rule them out, there's a study basically claiming that our market share is about between 30 to 40%, right? So then the question is, first of all, why there are still more than 50% companies that haven't spent any single dollar in cyber defense? I would say the major reason is that so right now many Web3 developers were Web2 developers previously, and they are still now used to pay for cybersecurity, especially at the early stage of a company. But if a Web2 company, right, even for us, right, when we in our first 2 years we didn't spend let's say money in securing our cloud server, all this kind of stuff, right? Because we're a small company, it's not a big deal if the server get hacked. But in the Web3 industry, even for medium-sized company or even for small-sized company, their smart contracts may manage millions of dollar worth of crypto assets, or even tens of millions of dollars crypto assets. These are not the asset of the company. These are the assets of their users.
Yeah.
So even for small-sized companies, they have to have secure their clients' asset. So as I said, that now there's still 50% more companies haven't spent any single dollar in cyber defense. That number last year is about 70%.
Yeah.
So it's already been improved. So after every big hack, this percentage got improved. Well, it's pretty painful, but we have seen the improvement.
Yeah. Well, a lot of startups tell me, well, we have an in-house engineer that works for our security. Why is that why is having someone in-house on your team to look after these bugs and things why is that bad?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there are several reasons. First reason, very kind of like interesting reason, is that kind of different from previous computation platform. In Web3 world, right, the smart contracts control everything. And sometimes the project owner are not a developer. And they may not even trust their own team, right? And we have seen so many cases that the developer leave backdoors in smart contracts. And later, when the smart contract become very successful, they simply steal the money. And we even have seen that there are some developers from North Korea pretending to be ones from South Korea and join the team, because it's a decentralized anonymous world, right? Sometimes you don't even know the name of your collaborator in Web3 industry. So it's very hard for the project owner to fully trust their employees. So this is very interesting reason. There are many other reasons. I can give you one example. Like this year, most of the let's say hacks came from the cross-chain bridges. It's a new kind of like application, just trying to enable the cross-chain transactions. When you have assets on various chains, you hope that you can transfer things and so on. And for these cross-chain bridges, if you try to bridge, let's say, n chains, the complexity does not grow linearly. the complexity will be something like n times n, because you have to bridge every 2 chains. For in-house developers, it's very hard for them to understand all the chains and all the complexities in it. But for us, since we have to help secure all these different chains, so we can have the expert to resolve the issues. Like when Wormhole got hacked in this February, more than $300 million got stolen, right? It's a cross-chain bridge. And then they started to work with us. And then 2 months later, Ronghui network got hacked. It's also a cross-chain bridge, right? More than $600 million got hacked due to one bug. And so then they started to work with us. So I would say that people started to realize that in order to resolve all these complexities, you have to work with third-party trusted firms that have the ability to deal with everything. Yeah.
So how are you staying on top of? I mean, hackers, they're smart. They get good. They switch it up. I mean, you really got to stay on your toes. How is your company staying, one step ahead of them?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it's very, very hard to always stay ahead of them. Especially right now, we have seen lots of so-called state hackers. Meaning that these hackers are supported by some governments, like, as I mentioned, North Korea, and so on. So they are very professional, and also the thing is, when they're looking at let's say 10,000 DeFi projects, as long as they can find one critical bug, they can perform the attack. But for us, we have to protect all of them, right? So the difficulties are not, I would say, the same. So that's very tricky. And then, so for us, how we do it, how we, let's say, keeps providing the high security rate for our clients, is that we, first of all, our technology have to be able to self-evolve. In the sense that, well, our underlying, so basically, given the previous smart contracts and blockchain system we have audited, we have secured, and we basically keep training the model of finding potential vulnerabilities and bugs. And whenever, let's say, when we see new smart contracts, so that system got improved by itself. So even if the framework, the technology remain the same, as long as we're serving more and more clients, it can be better and better. So this is the first thing. Second is that we also have the Skynet system. It's 24/7 monitoring system. We try to monitor on-chain, off-chain activities. So when we identify, let's say, malicious transactions, we will also try to scan these all our clients' code base to see if they may be vulnerable to this new kind of attack, and help them, let's say, move the assets to the safer place as early as possible. So there are many things we have been doing, but I would say this is an endless work.
It's endless, right? So if you're just joining us, just to recap, companies come to you, you audit them, and you let them know, you give them a full audit of what kind of bugs you see. And then what I also like is then you report it on your website. So for consumers who are looking to invest in companies or a token, you can go online and check their score. And you even rate other companies that haven't been audited by you, from what I found on your website. I mean, that's a benefit for consumers who want to jump in the game and want to know the risk level.
Well, it's very hard to imagine that a Web2 security firm that publish their client security data online, right? It's definitely not acceptable. But in Web3 world, since everyone is talking about transparency, everyone is talking about the consensus, so that's why we can publish the security data to the website. And we also feel like, so right now we're still the only Web3 security firm that make all the clients' audit reports, security data online available to everyone. You can simply view the data, download the reports, see the findings details, and so on. We feel like that's very important to help rebuild the trust for our clients, for the entire community, and so on. So One thing I want to correct is that right now we only publish the data for our clients at this moment. But we indeed have the plan to publish the security data for all, let's say, at least legit crypto projects, Web3 applications. And because we feel like that's the retail user are looking for. So, well, in Web3 industry, right, people are always saying that in code we trust, because we try to replace the centralized entity like banks and so on with decentralized smart contracts with the code. But the thing is, most people can't understand code, right? And so how they can then build the trust, right? I would say that's why we have this security board called Certik.com. You can check are there any mismatches between the white papers and the implementation, and whether there are potential like centralization risks or any potential bugs and so on. So we hope that this can indeed help retail user to do due diligence and understand these projects in more depth.
So what's your success rate? I mean, out of all the companies you've audited, has anybody been hacked yet?
Yeah, so great question. Yes, our clients also get hacked, and especially when there are new kinds of attack. It's very, very hard to prevent unknowing things. So in the past, I would say there are kind of like 5 to 6 instances related to our clients. But as I mentioned, so we have secured more than 4,000 clients and helped do more than 6,000 auditing. In a sense, that I would say our security rate, in terms of that, is about something like 99.9%. So that's already much higher than the industry standard, the current standard. So we definitely, as I mentioned, it's an endless wall because you can't provide a 100% security guarantee. So what we can do is we try our best to get as close as possible to 100%.
Yeah. So with your knowledge, do you invest in cryptocurrency?
For myself?
Yeah.
I personally do not invest.
You don't?
Yeah.
Why do you? For people out here who invest in cryptocurrencies, companies, like, I mean, there's a lot of risk. Do you still consider it high risk? What would be your advice if you could give, the average lay person, with all your knowledge, what you know?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I personally do not do investment in crypto. So actually, I do not do any investment because I'm a professor, right? So kind of like I don't understand investment. I don't think I can do it well. If I need to give some advices, I would say that please do due diligence before the investment. That's very, very important in the crypto space. There are so many kind of like unsecure smart contracts, and also there are many scams. Many scams, and right now we have a Twitter account called Certik Alert. We will report all these scam, let's say projects like scam links, the phishing website, all this kind of stuff. But we think that this year more than $400 million got lost due to scams and so on. It's still a big number. So please do due diligence before the investment, and you can go to Certik.com, right, to check the security data and so on before the investment. That's my advice.
What's one thing that keeps you up at night in regards to this new emerging, world Web3? Is there what's the biggest threat you think is coming down the road?
Yeah, so I would say the current threat is that now so there are several things. First is right now the smart contracts are more and more complicated, and the securing them become more and more challenging. Like as I mentioned, wormhole, like running network and so on. So these cross-chain bridges become really complicated, I would say. So how can we catch up with this increasing complexity? I would say this definitely is my biggest headache. Also, one of my research topic, right, at the moment. The second thing I would say that it's still it's unclear how let's say how to let more and more people adopt this decentralized application or Web3 application and so on. I think one thing is we have to make it secure. As I said, Ridello said the reason he did not touch cryptocurrency because of cyber risk, something like that. So we want to reduce that concern and so on. But there are still many other things we need to do, like what kind of real application we can build on top of more and more real application on top of it. How can we connect Web3 with, let's say, the real world stuffs, like how to let's say how to kind of like indeed benefit more people, right, with this decentralized technology and so on. So these are, I would say, that are the things we thought about a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So we all know it's risky, but do you believe it's the future? Where do you think we are 10, 20 years from now? Do you think Web3 is going to dominate?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's kind of like when there are kind of like many people ask, let's say, entrepreneur in Web2 industry or in internet industry in the year 2000, and they ask what the internet will be like, and it's a very hard question. Back then, I believe it's hard to imagine you can watch video on your phone, all this kind of stuff. You can't imagine this kind of application. And if I remember correctly, when I try to download a kind of like a MP3 music, something like it will take a really long time, several, even kind of like maybe 30 minutes, something like that, right? So then with that limitation, it's hard to say what kind of application can be built on top of internet. And then same with Web3. So we can see that if we compare Web3 with Web2, we can see that Bitcoin is something like email. A first real application, and then we can say, well, in the year of 2020, we started to have decentralized finance products, right? These are definitely real products, and also, as I mentioned, so compare with decentralized finance products with centralized finance products, indeed, is much more transparent and even trustworthy, right? As I mentioned, well, this year's crypto crash, right? So most of these big DeFi products are not affected, right? And so then we have NFTs, right? The kind of like cryptocurrencies are money on blockchain, and the NFTs are assets on blockchain. And once you have asset, and then you can do DAO, you can work across the world. So previously, let's say, people from, let's say, Africa, they do not have a chance to work for Google, for Facebook. Yeah. And then now, a developer in Africa, in South Asia, they can easily work for this big Web3 company and get paid, right? And that's really kind of like fascinating, right? Yeah. Well, basically mean that we can attract all the talents across the world and contribute to this platform together. So that's something you can't imagine for Web2 company and so on. So and then we can do metaverse. You can even work in the metaverse. You can earn your money, right, in metaverse. You have cryptocurrency. You have NFTs, right, and so on. And so you can see there are so many things you can do with it. I would say it definitely have a big space to imagine. But I don't think that Web3 will completely replace Web2. Okay. These are still two different things. Web2 is more convenient to transfer information, while keep and transfer information, while Web3 is definitely good at transfer and keep value and so on. Yeah.
Well, there you guys have it from Professor Gu. Protect yourself. Make sure you invest in companies that are secure. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.